hits for the bench. Extra attacker coming on to even things up. To the net, Albertson scores!
The Extra Attackers Podcast with Maude and Jordan.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Extra Attackers Podcast. Today we're bringing back our favorite guest, Charlie, to help us out with some more fantasy hockey. There wasn't a lot that happened in the NHL this week. There are some smaller stories like the Oilers in Columbus continue to fall apart, and Taylor Hall is now getting knee surgery, so he's out for the season. So you're only watching Bedard in Chicago now. But that's about the gist of it. So we're going to actually go through our subsequent fantasy teams, and we're going to talk about our biggest surprises, our most disappointing players, and of course we're going to get into goaltending a little bit because that's always a topic, especially with Maude.
Oh God,
actually.
I'm going to be ranting like crazy about the goalies for sure.
I can't wait for that. So we're going to get started right off the bat. I think the most the topic we should probably start off with, I want to see each person's most disappointing player. We'll start with you, Charlie. Who do you think has been the most disappointing player on your three teams so far?
Yeah, like you said, I have three teams, and two of them have Timo Meier.
Oh, I forgot that he was doing pretty poorly.
He is injured right now, but let me pull up his stats here. Through 14 games, 5 goals, 11 points. And one of these leagues, by the way, that I have him in is a points league where it's like a single point for a goal and assist, and plus minus is counted at that stat.
Mm-hmm.
So Meier has 11 points and is a minus 12, which means for me, when you add points and plus minus, he's technically at negative 1 point. So all of his points for me in that league are all peripherals.
They're all crossed out. Like his production is just negated, eh? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
and like
awful.
He did have a slow start last year too. He had I picked him up on waivers last year. Like by some year, I won my points league last year, and it's because my buddy Anders, who's in the league, he dropped both Saros and Meier because they were both having like a slow start, and I scooped them up because I had some forward to drop, and my team had both Jack Campbell and Thatcher Demko. So I was like, I needed to change anything in that. And luckily Saros and Meier both just like took off for the last 3/4 of the season. So I really hope it's like that again. But yeah, my points league, Meier is like ranked like 280 something. And just because of that plus minus, and even my other league that doesn't have plus minus, he's still in like 175 or something like that. So he's just off to a really, really bad start. And I don't even like, the scoring isn't there. Shots are okay at 42 shots. Like he's getting like 3 shots a game, which is still low for him. And hits, he's at about a hit and a quarter per game at 20 hits in 14 games. So it's like not the worst, but his scoring just isn't there, which is a shame because he should be like a point per game and like a plus 10, not minus 12 on the Devils.
I thought he would have a good start. Like I legitimately thought you'd be like almost an above point per game player, like maybe even playing with Jack Hughes. I'm surprised that it's been so rough for him.
Yeah, the Devils, like outside of Hughes and Brott, the Devils have been a little suspect lately.
That is true.
Yeah, I used up a 3rd round pick on him in one league and a 4th in the other. So It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, I'd like to think, because Hughes has been out for a while and Heischer has been out for even longer, so maybe with both of them back and then Meier coming back later, like, he's going to have some help at least. Like, it's probably been a bit of a rough patch since those top 2 centers have been injured, so I got to think that he has a good chance at bouncing back.
I hope so.
Yeah, freaking having him on 2 teams is crazy. I'll talk about it later, but I have a guy on 2 teams that I'm not happy with, but we'll save that for later.
Okay, that's fair.
It's worse when you have them multiple times for sure.
Exactly, like that's rough, and that was a solid pickup. Like if I was there during those drafts, I would have been like, yeah, no, that's really smart. Hopefully he improves. But moving on to you, Maude. Who in your 2 teams, who has been the worst player so far?
So the player who has pissed me off the most is Mika Zibanejad. I think I took him with my 3rd pick in our league, the one that we're both in, Jordan. Because I think I went Draisaitl and then Stützle and then Zibanejad was my top 3. So and like the Stützle pick was a little bit like bullish, you know. It was like that could go great or that could go poorly depending on who I passed on. Like I haven't gone back and looked at the draft ranking and seeing who was still available then. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some guys I should have picked instead. But the main point is Zibanejad with my third pick. This guy only has 2 goals and 9 assists so far, which is insane to me because Artemi Panarin has 26 points. So I am extremely angry that they are not playing on the same line at even strength. Like Zibanejad's most common line mates, I just looked this up here. Like his most common line is Chris Kreider and Kaapo Kakko. Kakko completely sucks, so Zibanejad isn't going to get any points from him. I think Kakko has like less than 5 points on the year. Kreider has pretty good production, but most of it's on the power play. He has 8 power play points. And then his second most common line mates is still Kreider, but then Blake Wheeler instead of Kaapo Kakko, and everyone knows he's not doing anything either. So I am pissed off that Zibanejad isn't even getting points from playing with Panarin, at least, because Panarin is totally carrying the Rangers. And I had Panarin last year, and he had a little bit of a down year, so I was annoyed with Panarin last year. I get Zibanejad instead this time, and now it's Zibanejad who sucks. And he is pissing me off lately. Like, the last 8 games, I think it is, especially, the last 8 games, he has 0 goals and 2 assists. So it's at the point where I've just been leaving him in my bench. Like I was playing like Robert Thomas instead of him, and played Mason McTavish instead of him yesterday, which actually ended up pretty well because he had 3 points. But Zibanejad as my third pick is a guy who is just getting left in the bench at this point. So I'm pissed off about him.
That's unexpected. I thought he would be really good to start the season, especially like when you say Draisaitl, Stützle, Zibanejad, like that's an elite like center core.
Yeah,
like, just
especially
on,
because you can play Draisaitl and Stützle on the left wing position too. I was like, this is sick. They have the versatility. But no, Zibanejad being the one main center, like my other guys I can put on the wing, Zibanejad just being in the C spot, he's getting benched at this point for other people, which is just sad.
I thought he'd at least get goals. Like,
that's the thing.
That's crazy.
Usually he's ripping them on the power play. Like, in a lot of the Rangers highlights I've seen, when they do score power play goals and he doesn't get a point, he'll be like the third pass. Like he will pass it to Fox or Panarin. They'll shoot it. It will like hit Chris Kreider's ass on the way in, and then someone else will bang in the rebound. So he doesn't get an assist. It's like he's still involved in these plays, but he's just not getting the points. So I do wonder if some of it is bad luck. But the 2 goals, especially, it's 2 goals on 48 shots. So I feel like that's a pretty average shot total. He's not shooting so much that it feels like it's going to turn around quickly for the goal scoring. So I don't know. Very, very disappointed with him so far.
I would be too. You expect a lot from that Rangers team just in general, and they seem to be like firing in all cylinders lately, but
especially because they're doing so good. You would, every time I check the box score for a Rangers game, it's like, oh, they scored 5 goals. Did Zibanejad get any points? Nope. Never. Not happening. At most, he will get 1 assist. He got an assist last night when I left him on the bench, which is probably going to convince me to play him tomorrow, and then he's going to do nothing again, and I'm going to get pissed.
Do you know who's centering Panarin right now?
I think it's Vinny Trocheck. I can check really quick.
Oh, that would make sense. I forgot that there's Tusi there.
Let's see. I think it is him.
Crazy.
Yeah, they've been playing Trocheck and Panarin pretty much.
Oh, that's sad.
So I hate that. I'm mad at their coach. I'm mad at Peter Laviolette. He needs to put Zibanejad with Panarin so that he can get Zibby going again.
You know, I remember when you posted your team after that draft, and I could not believe that Zibanejad dropped to the 3rd round.
Yeah, I thought it was a steal at that point.
I thought it was a steal too.
I'm gonna see if I can find the draft results from our league, like while someone else is talking, and see if I can find like who was still on the board at that point, if I should have taken someone better, or if it's just like it sucks that he's doing bad, but it was still like a good value pick.
That would be fun if while people are talking, we could figure out what, like, you know, obviously we're talking about our worst player, biggest disappointment, then we'll talk about like a nice surprise. We should take a quick peek at our drafts and figure out who are like our biggest blunder, like what amazing player went like 2 picks after we were on the board.
There's always a couple for everyone, so I'm gonna try to remember where that is on Yahoo, and maybe we can look at that later.
It's funny. I think I picked up Eriksson Ek, like,
Mm,
because he's doing pretty well. Just because I had injuries, and I'm pretty sure at this point, he has more points than Zibanejad, and
he
more.
does, yep. Because I have Eriksson Ek on my other team. He's been pretty good. He has more points than Zibanejad, definitely.
So that is a player that was still on the board that you should have picked instead.
Yeah. Oh my
Clearly,
God. Should have had him with my third pick. Jesus.
that's funny. I'll finish off, I guess, with my most disappointing for this section. There are two players. One I will save for the goalie discussion.
Hmm.
But this honestly, like my team has been pretty good in that like the worst players have been average. But there is one player that I do need to highlight, unfortunately, and it's because he was my first overall pick.
Oh yeah.
Connor
I
McDavid,
figured.
so far. Dude is point per game. I'll give him credit on that, like while playing injured. But when you pick McDavid, you expect him to have 30 points at this point. Like you hope that he's almost double point per game, and that's not happening. I'm very lucky in that the rest of my team has been at worst average, to kind of support the fact that he hasn't been very good, compared to what he usually is, obviously. So that's been rough. I'm hoping he can pick it up in the second half of the season in the next little while, just so that it can look more justified to where he got picked. And honestly, like at this point, maybe even they just shut him down for like a month, even just so that he can like heal from his injury and be his normal productive self. Like,
Hmm.
of course, it sucks to lose him on your fantasy team for that amount of time, but I feel like centers are pretty easy to find in fantasy in comparison to wingers.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard to pick up a like near point of game center, and that's almost the same impact at this point. So that's been frustrating, and it's been the one I've been watching throughout the first couple weeks of the season.
I was thinking similar to you that they might shut him down for a while. He's picked it up in the last few games and started to get some multi-point performances. So at this point, I don't know if they'll do it, but the Oilers have sucked so much that it might be a situation where their record just gets so bad. And if McDavid is banged up a bit, he just says, "Screw it, we're absolutely like." Out of it at this point, so I'm just going to rehab the injury, because it's probably still bugging him a little bit. It seemed like they kind of rushed him back.
It does, and I mean, are they not done already? Like,
Probably. They will have to
like,
go on an insane run at this point.
yeah, I don't feel like there's a lot of hope there. So I just shut him down. It can't be comfortable for him.
Hmm.
All
Could
right,
you
so
imagine? Could you imagine what like Macklin Celebrini would look like with McDavid?
Oh no.
I swear to God, if they get another first overall pick, I'm gonna be cheesed. Like, I'll be so mad.
Thing is, if they're able to keep McDavid and Draisaitl, like if they don't want to leave, do you draft a forward with this top pick, or do you try to get a defenseman because their defense is just so ass? Like, if they get first overall and Celebrini is the best, obviously you take him. But if they're in the 2 to 5 range, I wonder if they target a defenseman because they haven't really had any good defensemen coming up since Darnell Nurse, and even at this point, he's overpaid. So I wonder if they might be looking at D instead.
There's a chance. I mean, I feel it's
Yeah,
rough because you could say their depth is so bad at forward that drafting a forward slots someone down, and that helps.
That's true.
So
I don't know. Like I am very much a believer in draft the best player available, regardless of position. But
Yeah.
when you have what should be the two best forwards in the league, that feels like you're able to cheat a little bit. But who knows if they're both there 2 years from now? Like Draisaitl has what one like next year left on his contract, and then
Hmm.
McDavid has two more after this season.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where they got to worry about that, which is
Yeah,
crazy because they weren't expecting to be in this position whatsoever.
it's gonna be really
that's
interesting to see
crazy.
if both of them stay. Like, I don't know what they're both of them are thinking, but if both of them leave, like that might be one of the most disastrous wastes of a prime duo
Hmm.
of all time.
Definitely.
It'd be incredible.
It's interesting that Draisaitl's contract is up first too, because I could see McDavid staying without Draisaitl if they trade him and get a really good return. But I don't really think Draisaitl would stay without McDavid because he's kind of the number two to the number one, right? So, but Draisaitl has to decide first whether or not he's going to sign, and I think that's interesting because he might be fed up with it. He might, and then it might be a case that McDavid doesn't want to stay without Draisaitl too, and Draisaitl doesn't want to stay. It's going to be interesting.
don't know how they fit it in because, like,
Yeah, they're already against
say
the
they
cap.
both stay. Yeah. There's no way the two of them make less than 30 combined. There's no way.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So then what do you do after that? So then you throw in Darnell Nurse. That's 40 mil.
That contract is so bad.
I couldn't believe
gonna
it
be
when it was signed.
So say there's a huge jump in the cap over the next few years, like the NHL is claiming there will be, and the cap is 100 million. You're still spending 40% on, granted, two amazing players, but that's still 10% of your cap going towards Darnell Nurse. So how do you build a team around three guys making 40% of your cap?
Mm-hmm.
I
The
don't know
Leafs
how you do
problem.
it.
Oh god.
Exactly. It's you have two great forwards and one. I think a defenseman anyone would be happy to have on their team for 5 mil, 6 mil even, and then I don't know what you do with that. That's like McDavid's going to be making, if McDavid signs to stay in Edmonton for less than 15, 16, something like that, I think we're all going to be shocked. So that's going to be crazy. Those two contracts, if they stay in Edmonton, which I don't know. I don't know if they will. They have not been having fun for a while now.
It seemed like if they had another winning season, of regardless of how long they get in the playoffs, but at least just making the playoffs again, it seemed like everyone would kind of just assume that they would re-sign. But now we're in crazy world where who knows what's going to happen at this point.
We're in a world now where next season, the consensus 1 and 2 fantasy picks for the last however many years might not go top 5.
Yeah. Holy
That's
crap.
a good point.
They gotta really pick it up to keep that top 5 fantasy status.
Yeah.
I did find my draft results for our league, and specifically checked Zibanejad, and fuck, there's a really bad one. So, for one thing, right before I picked Zibanejad, Jordan picked Adam Fox, and I remember being annoyed. I was going to take Fox instead. 2 Rangers, at least. I think Fox is injured, but I would probably rather have Fox than Zibanejad right now. But the really bad one is that 2 picks later was Elias Pettersson.
Oh, that's rough.
So,
God.
I knew he was going to be really good, but I didn't put much stock into the Canucks as a team this year. So I honestly don't really know what I was thinking, because Pettersson still had 100 points last year. So why was I picking? I don't really know why I decided to do that. That seems kind of stupid.
Yeah, I would have picked Pettersson over Zibanejad. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know what the hell did I do that for? I don't even. God, that's bad. That's really bad.
I'm glad that I haven't been able to find the draft ranking here, because I think I'd be pretty sad with some players too.
Do you want to check any? Because I can do Control F, and if there's any you wonder about, if you want to check one of your players, see who went right after them.
I'm trying to think who was my second pick.
Second pick? I can check it.
I think it was Malkin, actually, and I think Malkin's been quite good. So he's over point per game. So
no, you definitely didn't take Malkin second.
It might have been later.
Yeah, definitely later. Your second pick was Ottinger, which is good.
Ottinger. Okay. Ottinger's been good, so I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Malkin was way later.
Okay, that was a good pick apparently.
Yeah, Malkin was 8th round, so I don't know why you thought that was higher up.
He was 8th round?
Yeah,
that's crazy. Okay, I don't know why. I guess it's because he's been doing so well. I just assumed he was a higher pick, but I guess I was wrong. Well, that's a good segue though into the biggest surprises for each of us. Starting in with Charlie, who's been your biggest surprise on your 3 teams?
I think my biggest one, it is so close between 2 players, actually both on one of my teams is in what's basically an SDPN league. It's entirely Game Over hosts and Robert. And listen, I'm just gonna pump my tires a little bit. I am dominating. There is more space between me and who's in second than second and 9th place.
Oh my God. Are you okay, Maude?
I'm in 4th, so it's not too bad, but It can, with what he said, between
third.
Oh, I was looking at the live standings. Because it updates as it goes during the week. But yeah, 3rd, 4th, whatever. Like he said, there's a huge just glut in the middle of the standings where between 2nd to 9th, you could easily just if you have one bad week, you'll go all the way down.
Yeah, in
Have
a
one
single
good week and you'll
yeah.
go all the way up. So it's quite competitive, other than Charlie being way ahead of everyone.
Yeah, I'm at 99 points, and in second is who's in second? Armand is in second with 85 points, and then 85 points, and then in ninth is Brady with 72 points. So there's this big, but yeah, like a bunch of 1 week is all it takes to completely flip the standings. But anyway, my two best picks, because I can't, I'll pick one. The currently ranked 13th in the league, who I drafted at 105.
Oh,
Philip Forsberg.
I was trying to get Forsberg late in that draft, but I guess I waited too long because you got him, obviously.
I had him as a target in all of my drafts, and it seems like my other two leagues, everyone else did too, because he definitely was not on the board that late in my other drafts. But yeah, so far this season, Forsberg, let's see here, 18 games, 9 goals, 21 points. Solid for shots, 77 shots in 18 games, 28 hits too, which is more than you'd expect. 6 blocks. Like he's just kind of good all over the board. Let's see here. Where's his power play points? He's got 7 power play points, so that's a big help. But yeah, so far he's been absolutely killing it for me. So that's not bad at all.
I like that for a late round pick.
And I just noticed. I just noticed what should have been an amazing pick. I took Valery Nichushkin 177, and he had such a slow start.
You dropped him, yeah.
I dropped him. Audie picked him up. He's
been going crazy. I got smoked by him in my other league. The guy had him and McCarr.
Last 5 games.
Oh my God.
I should have. I should have picked him up in our league after you dropped him. I didn't pick him up either. Like, fuck.
He was off to such a bad start. I had to drop him. He was so bad. That's awful. Sorry, I just had to. I just noticed.
No, that's funny. God, I feel for you.
But yeah, no, Philip Forsberg. I'm thrilled with that Forsberg pick. And the other one doing a lot of heavy lifting, I'll just bring this up too. Evander Kane, took him at 88th. He's ranked 16th in the league.
Oh wow, that's high.
I know he had a slow start too, so that's impressive.
So I'm pretty happy with that. Just another guy that, like, even if he doesn't score, peripheral stats and everything like that. So, but yeah, no, Philip Forsberg, who now I really regret not taking my other leagues too, because he's crushing it.
You know, that sounds like it was a pick that moved up for you, and it's one of the reasons you're decimating the SDPN league. But do you have someone in that league, Maude, who's also helping you out?
So in that league, I feel like all of my players are just doing pretty average. Like, Darlene doing good, Rantanen doing good. Like, they're doing about what you would expect. Like, Stamkos as well, Tavares. A few guys like that where they're doing pretty good, but they're not lighting the world on fire. I feel like I have really good depth on this team that's keeping me afloat, but it's not... I don't have one guy who's really outperforming expectations on that team, so I'm going to go back to our league. And it's like the most obvious one ever, but Quinn Hughes leading the league in points. I think he's still in first place. I'm going to double check what round I got him in here, but because it definitely wasn't like my first 3 picks or anything. So let's see what it was. It was in the 5th round. To get the guy who's currently leading the league in points in the 5th round is pretty damn good. And considering I also have Draisaitl, who is slacking, who also definitely could have been in my most disappointing players category, Hughes has totally picked up the slack for Draisaitl entirely, and he's carrying this team for me. And I wasn't expecting that at all. Like, I was expecting 70-something points, and now if he finished with 70-something, that would be a disappointment with how good he's done so far. So he has just been freaking amazing. He had like a 5-point night in that blowout against the Sharks. So he's had some games where he just absolutely pops off, totally carrying the team for me.
Honestly, like, I kind of expect him to cool down a little bit because, like, Vancouver's so incredibly red hot, but in the 5th round, that's an incredible pick. Like, and same as you, I would never have seen that coming. I would assume 70 points, if you're lucky, like 75 from him, but he's tearing it up. He should have gone first, apparently.
Yeah, I feel like he's a guy that no one was really picking higher than like the 5th round. I don't think anyone probably would have taken him with their first 3 or 4 picks unless they're a huge Canucks homer. So, but everyone who did end up getting him is just absolutely laughing right now. Like a lucky pick, lucky performance. So super happy about that.
Not to make myself look bad, he is someone I was actively avoiding.
Really avoiding?
Interesting.
For what reason?
He's a 1 category player.
Just assists
until this year.
Yeah.
He was assists, and then he does nothing else as far as fantasy goes. And that's not me being like Quinn Hughes was a bad hockey player until this season. No, he wasn't a good fantasy player until this season. Now he's just incredible.
Yeah, the 8 goals so far is crazy. I think that might already be a career high for him, or like tying a career high, or like he's gonna smash that career high goal total. The plus 15 as well. We have plus minus in this league, so that's actually huge, especially when I have Draisaitl being a minus, Vince Dunn being a minus, Kyle Connor being a minus, all these guys. So Hughes is with the plus 15 is evening it out for my whole team, and 14 power play points is just insane too. So like you said, Jordan, I think it will cool off a little bit, but lucky pick, he's unreal right now.
Well, we absolutely take those. Not gonna lie,
we do.
And it's kind of funny because we've already like gone over like players I was thinking of actually picking as my standout. We talked about Malkin a little bit. He's done really well. I also got Philip Forsberg in my draft, and that was a later pick.
Nice.
Who's succeeded. So not to copy of any of that, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper with a player. So far this season, Lucas Raymond has actually been pretty good. In 18 games, he has 14 points, which is something that I wasn't necessarily expecting after he had a down year, but I took a bit of a flyer on him later in the draft. And it's nice because he can play both wings as well. So yeah, he's been chugging along, and some of that is definitely propped up by the fact of how well Detroit started the season. He might cool off. He might finish with like 60, 70 points, but sometimes with like how hard it is to get wingers in these leagues, I'm definitely not complaining so far. I'm happy with him, and I didn't expect this from him at all.
I have him as one of my late round picks in the Game Over League. So, but a funny thing, with Detroit's hot start, he was kind of quiet at the beginning. He had a lot of games where he had 0 points, even though they won like 6-2 or 6-3 or something like that. I'm looking at the game logs right now, and I was close to dropping him, but because of the Sweden schedule, I was like, okay, he won't be in my bench for sure. I'll have him starting because they're playing on days where there was not so many games. And then he's had a 4-game goal streak, so he's staying on my team for sure. I was considering dropping him, but he's turned it around. He seems like a good depth option, and like you said, the left wing, right wing is great because you can fit him in either spot. He does end up in my bench from time to time, especially because he was a little bit of a slow start, but he has been on fire lately and kept me from dropping him.
Like when you consider too how hard it is to get right wings in these leagues, like it's been really helpful in that department. Like right wing is a tough position unless you get Mitch Marner.
Yeah, I have Pasta in 2 of my leagues because I have my first round pick in my 3 leagues were Matthews and then Pasternak twice, because unless I'm getting, what we thought Connor McDavid is supposed to be this year, or like Draisaitl or Matthews, I'm like, I need a right winger so bad. So
in the Game Over League
strategy.
In the Game Over League, I was torn between picking Pasternak and Rantanen, and you picked after me. So I took Rantanen, you got Pasternak, and I'm like stressing over how that will turn out. Luckily, they both so far have the same number of goals. I think Pasternak just has 4 more assists. So I'm not like disappointed yet in my decision, but I feel like Pasternak is the type of guy who could just go off and get way ahead of Rantanen in terms of goal scoring.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Currently, let's see here. Based on our league settings, Rantanen is 14th overall. And I mean, you also have to keep in mind like games played. That's a whole other thing. Like Tim Stützle's not doing that well according to like fantasy rankings because the Sens have played twice in the last like 3 months.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
Point. So
Rantanen's what did I say? 14th?
It's 14. I have it on my screen
14,
too.
and Pasternak's 3rd so far.
Yeah. Is it just
he's having a slower week?
Is it just having way more shots on goal? Because like how many shots on goal does Pasternak have?
I mean, yeah, looking through the last few games for Past, 2, 8, 6, 3, 6, 5, 3, 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be that.
Yeah.
He does not hit at all. He has 0 hits in his last 6 games.
Of course.
7 games, actually. Holy shit.
Because the production is similar, but Pasternak ranked 10 spots higher. I think it must be shots on goal because we know Pasternak shoots like crazy. Rantanen has 60 total shots on goal on the season, which is pretty good, but I would bet Pasternak probably has at least like 80 at this point.
When Peter took Kucherov as the top right winger in the draft, I think he took him at like 5th or so.
That was ballsy.
I was like, holy shit. Kucherov's ranked 2nd in our league right now. He's killing it.
I matched up against Peter in the week where Kucherov and Point started going insane and going way up the points list, and he has both of them. So I just got totally fucking destroyed on the first day of the week. First day of the week, Kucherov had 4 points, and I think Point had a hat trick. So it was horrible. I think that week they played Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal as well, and they were just destroying everyone. So Kucherov is going crazy for sure. That's someone who could also fit in these surprise players. Not that we don't expect Kucherov to be really good, but like you said, he picked him as the top right wing in the draft, and so far he's correct about that.
That's a really good flyer. Honestly, I wouldn't be brave picking Kucherov anymore with the downswing Tampa seems to be going on overall. But just like Boston, just when you think they're dead, they're like, no, one more time, and they just keep going. You can't knock them down.
Like in my mind, going into any of these drafts, I was like Pasternak and Rantanen absolutely over Kucherov. And for a while, I was even considering like Marner over Kucherov because I'm an idiot. Just no, like I need to stop doubting Tampa.
It's funny too because I think like 2 years ago when I actually won the league, one thing I did was Pasternak was actually injured at the start of the season, and because of that, people just weren't taking him. So I got him in like the 3rd or 4th round or something, like way later than you'd expect, and then he just destroyed. Like he came back from injury a month in, and I was like, well, it sucks that I kind of lose the spot, but he did so well that he more than made up for it. So he has a special place in my heart for that.
Those IR stashes are going to be coming in handy for a lot of people soon. I think Vasilevsky is going to play this weekend, so everyone's got to watch out for him now being a factor in their leagues. Instead of getting to play against Jonas Johansson, who allows 4 or 5 goals every freaking game, people are now going to have to face Vasilevsky. So those IR players are coming back soon.
Speaking of goalies, though, we'll move on to the last section of this. How have your goalies been? We're going to start with Charlie, and then we're going to go over to the Maude's Goalie Curse Corner and finish off with me. So, Charlie, how have your goalies been?
I have one team with good goalies. I'll start with the bad. In the SDPN league, I'm currently rocking Jacob Markstrom, Semyon Varlamov, and our homie UP Luukkonen.
Oh boy.
Because Buffalo's goalies have just been weird. Luukkonen's been like the guy over the last 3 games. Anyway, he's played 3 of the last 4 games with a 923, 923, and actually no, that's not actually a shutout. He came in relief, but top 14 and 14. Yeah, I just took a flyer on him earlier because apparently Devin Levi is not the guy that we were all thinking he was going to be coming to the season. And Varlamov, I mean, with Sorokin being not very good, Varlamov's actually been great. He's ranked 37th in our league.
Oh wow, how many games has he played?
Not have a great week. Let's see, Varlamov.
Because I feel like
on here.
I feel like even Sorokin not doing the best so far, I feel like they would still usually favor him. So I wonder how many starts are you getting out of Varlamov?
Good question.
He's only got 6 starts. But he's rocking a 934 with only 2 wins, but he has a 934 because apparently the Islanders can't score.
Yeah, they suck this year, but good goaltending still, I guess. If they have a lot of back-to-backs coming up too, then Varlamov will be even more useful because then it's guaranteed starts.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling Sorokin's going to figure it out though, because like it's Sorokin.
Yeah.
Who has he really been that bad this year? Let me check.
I think Jordan, you have him, right?
I don't.
I thought you had him. Oh no, you had Ottinger.
Year.
You had Ottinger and Soros this year, right? Yeah. Okay.
We'll get to
them.
But
let's see. Yeah, 12 games, 909. So like he's not been bad, but like
That's still
Hasn't been
better than
Sorokin.
most. He hasn't been his usual self, but
No.
that's better than most of the goalies.
yeah.
That's
So
true.
it's not horrible. Like Markstrom on this season has a 904. Like he's usable. So like my goalies aren't great, but they're usable in this league. My other Cats league, I have it's very similar. Luukkonen and Markstrom again, but this time with Vanacek.
Oh no.
And Vanacek, yeah, 886 on the season. I'm still holding out hope. New Jersey's supposed to be good, damn it.
I have him on 2 teams. I have him on both of my teams, which is is actually like sinking me at this point sometimes.
God.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Anyway, those are awful. But my good team, which is my points league, I have Saros and the Vegas tandem with Hill
Vegas
and Thompson.
tandem is a good call. I
That is a
am
good call.
annoyed that I didn't pick either of the Vegas goalies in either of my leagues, because they're running both of them pretty well and they're both valuable at this point. So I feel like I had the chance to pick like them multiple times in both of the drafts I did, and I avoided them. I don't know why.
Yeah, so 1 for 3 isn't too bad. I mean, I'm usually awful with goals. At least in my categories league, my buddy Matt, who's been a guest on Game Over a few times now, his first 4 picks were defensemen and goalies. He went
Oh wow.
Makar, Sorokin, Sider, Gustafsson, which didn't work out.
Oof.
He has dropped Gustafsson. Who are his goalies now? He's got Sorokin, Logan Thompson, and John Gibson.
That's still pretty good.
It's still all right, but like for a guy who like prioritized goalies,
Yeah, the Gustafsson
You know.
was a big swing and a miss for sure.
yeah. So I took Saros in round 5, so I
Mhm.
was thrilled that he was still on the board. But and I mean that is probably also why my goalies suck in 2 of my 3 teams. Is that I refuse to take goalies before round 5, and by then the good ones are off the board usually. But it worked out all right for that one because I got Saros, and yeah, the Vegas tandem is like it means I'm getting like a win most nights that Vegas is playing, like
Mhm.
so it
Yeah.
just works out well. But yeah, goalies, I don't know. I have a tough time with goalies.
Me
They're just a
too.
weird bet.
I sure
every
do
single
as
year.
well.
At least I don't have Jack Campbell and Thatcher Demko on 2 teams again.
You both had Jack
That's
Campbell last
crazy.
year, which is very funny.
So mad. I was
Awful.
so mad.
Awful.
Hey,
I
well-
don't remember which one of them, but between Campbell and Demko, I replaced with Saros. But that's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Is that happened last season?
I can't make fun of it
Fantasy.
too much because I fucking picked Stuart Skinner this year.
Oh, I almost did.
Yeah.
I almost did.
I guess
I thought about it.
I might as well just get into my goalie rant now at this point.
Go for it, Maude.
So my team in the Game Over League is more steady because for once, and I never do this, but I did this just because I have 2 teams for the first time this year. I picked Shesterkin pretty high. I think he was either my 2nd or 3rd pick. I usually never pick one of the top goalies early. He's been up and down so far. He had a couple rough games at the beginning of the season, then he had a really good stretch, but then he got injured. So, and then coming back from injury, he's been kind of average. But regardless, the Rangers win all the time, so he should prove his value over the course of the season. I have no issue with Shesterkin so far, but what I have a huge issue with, as I mentioned earlier, is having Vitek Vanacek on 2 teams. And I was double checking where I drafted him. In the league that I'm in with Jordan, I took him 6th round, which at this point was definitely way too high. I should have fucking taken any other goalie at that point at 6th. In the Game Over League, though, I took him 10th round, and that was already after having Shesterkin. Because this is the thing, in the Game Over League, he's my 2nd goalie after Shesterkin, so he sucks, but at least I'm not totally relying on him. But in the other league, he's my best goalie because he was the first goalie I took thinking like, oh, New Jersey's going to be sick this year. He's going to win 30 games. It was the tandem on that team was Vanacek and Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner, I dropped, picked him back up, and then dropped him again today. So that everyone knows how it is with Stuart Skinner. Just ungodly bad stats. Even when I picked him back up, picked him back up after they had the first game with the new coach. It was against the Islanders, so of course they did well in that game. I played him for their game against Seattle. He allowed 3 goals, but they won, so it was a decent game. Then after that, they played Tampa. I benched him because I was like, no fucking way I'm putting this guy in against Tampa. He allowed 5. He didn't play the next game. The Oilers still allowed 5 with Pickard in net anyway. And then yesterday he allowed 4 in the first period and got pulled. I didn't play him. So I'm like, at this point, if I'm not even going to start him, I have to just drop him again. Like I've been too scared to even start him. So John Gibson has ended up on my team. He's decent, but he'll get good stats, but then he won't win because the Ducks don't score enough lately. And then when I dropped Skinner this time today, it was to pick up Jonathan Quick, which is how dire things are at this point. Just because the Rangers I checked the schedule, and the Rangers have 1 back-to-back every week in December, including and this weekend too. So at least he's guaranteed starts, and he's been doing pretty well so far on a team that has been winning a lot of games. So this is what I'm at. I'm at freaking the goalie tandem of Vanacek, Quick, and Gibson on this team. It's so bad. It's dire, and I keep like constantly checking the waiver wire of the goalies and just seeing like, okay, is there any of these goalies that are on a hot streak or anything right now? But the options are bad. It's like the other options are like Connor Ingram, Elvis Merzlikins, Sam Montembeau, but Montreal he has good stats, but Montreal's carrying 3 goalies, so he's not going to play that much. They rotate the goalies around a lot. I was tempted to pick up Anton Forsberg again, but when I picked him up earlier in the season, it was like his worst 2 games of the year. I think he's going to get better, but I'm scared to pick him up again because I don't want to ruin him again, because it seems whichever goalies I get just get completely ruined. So I have to pick goalies that I don't care about outside of fantasy, you know?
I was gonna say, like, you act like it's not your fault that Forsberg was bad. You picked him up knowing what that would do to him.
He will do good now because I have let him go back to the waiver wire. And then he'll have a hot streak, and I'll pick him up again, and then the hot streak will die. It will just end in its tracks right there.
I have a tweet.
Yeah.
It's a tweet where I dunk on you and then I dunk on myself.
Mm-hmm.
From August 21st, when you tweeted out your first fantasy team, the one that we were talking about here, where you got Zibanejad in the 3rd round. I responded, Vanacek as your number 1 goalie is terrifying.
You were right.
Big pause. But getting Skinner that late is awesome.
Mm-hmm. What round was Skinner? Do you see it in the screenshot there? What round was he?
Skinner was round 10, 119 overall.
Like you would have thought that would be a good value pick. It's like, okay, Campbell sucks, so Skinner's going to win 30 games for the Oilers. The Oilers might not win 30 games in total this season, so holy crap. That, like, at least I didn't pick Skinner very highly. And in the other league, Vanacek was also 10th round in that league. So at least I didn't waste super high picks on my goalies for them to be bad, but they're still really bad. And I feel like there's no other options. Like I've gone through all the teams in the one league and trying to see if I can trade for any goalies, but I don't really see anything that would make sense for someone to want to agree to. So, and same with Zibanejad. I want to trade him away for someone else, but no one's going to take him because he sucks so bad.
I'll trade you Saros for Hughes if you want a goalie. I feel like that's fair.
Ottinger for Hughes.
There's a guy in my points league who is so desperate for goaltending. Let me read you his goalies.
Oh God,
right now.
Is it worse? Is it worse than me?
Is that possible?
So he's got 2 Carolina goalies. He's got Ranta, who's injured, and Kochetkov. And his 3rd goalie. Now, keep in mind, early on, like, this was terrible because Carolina had the 2nd worst goal.
Yeah, they were allowing a lot of goals.
Anyway, Kochetkov is ranked 631st in the league.
God.
Ranta is 339th. And just to round it out, he's got Peter Mrazek, who is ranked 312. He does not have a goalie in the top. His best goalie is Mrazek at 312th in league standings. So just to tell you, it could be worse.
It could be worse.
Someone offered him Ingram for Rantanen, which I think is very funny.
It could be worse, but I just found the list of all of the other goalies that I have like streamed for like 1 or 2 games, and it's even worse. I forgot that I used like my very last pick of the draft to pick Phoenix Copley because he did decent on the Kings last year. He had a 737.
I was high on him.
Yeah, he had a
so high on
737
him
percentage in his first start, and then I just dropped him. After the first game, I was just like, nope, goodbye. Not going to bother.
You just knew Talbot was going to turn it on.
Exactly. and
like, what the hell?
Yeah, Copley is still sitting at 5 games started, 2 wins, and an 845 save percentage. So that was one of my draft. That was one of my draft picks. And then these are the goalies that I've taken from free agency. You would think that Joseph Woll was a good pickup, but I picked him up when he was facing Chicago, and he allowed 3 goals and lost to fucking Chicago. And then I just immediately dropped him after that, and then someone else took him, and then he's done better since then. Not like great, because there's still been some games where they've allowed a lot of goals, but he's still had some good performances in there too. Anton Forsberg for 1 game against the Buffalo Sabres was 5 goals against on 18 shots, so that didn't last very long. I picked up Jonas Johansson for a little bit after he had 2 shutouts, and his stats on my team were 1 win in 4 games with a 857 save percentage and 477 GAA. So obviously that went great. He's gone. I got rid of him before Vasilevsky was even going to come back. I got rid of him like 2 weeks ago. I used Philip Grubauer for 1 game when they were playing the 2-7-1 Calgary Flames. He allowed 4 goals and lost. And then I also used Lucas Dahlstell for 1 game against the Flyers. He allowed 5 games right back to the 5 goals against right back to the waiver wire. So even these goalies that I'm picking up just to be like, oh, maybe this guy can have a good start and then get on a run. Like, oh, they're playing kind of a crappy team. Maybe they will get a few starts after beating a bad team. No, they all did horrible, and they all got dropped after like 1 or 2 games. So I'm finding no luck on the waiver wire either this season, which makes my picks of Vanacek and Skinner that much worse. I'm not even getting anyone else who's any good.
Maude,
you're going through what I went through last year.
Yeah.
Before picking up Saros and Gustafsson.
Can someone just, Jordan? Can you just drop Saros? Like, can I pick up Saros off waivers? Like,
been considering it. I mean, I'm hoping he'll turn it around. But like, Maude, it's a crazy line of bodies you left behind. My God,
it's bad. I guess. Yeah, we might as well get into Saros since you have him, eh?
Yeah, obviously my first goalie is Ottinger, which has been good because he has a 920 on the season so far. Very impressive. Good starter.
Yeah.
Saros was someone that was available like in a good spot for me, and I thought seeing him there, this was my one opportunity to have 2 really good goalies back to back. And I remember, I think last season with Jack Campbell, I was always having issues with goalies, and I wanted to make sure that didn't happen this year. And I mean, thanks to Ottinger, it hasn't really happened, but Saros has not been great. He had a good bounce back game against Calgary. I think he posted a 923 in that game. But besides that, he has a sub 900 save percentage. I think it's 894 or something like that.
Yeah.
It not been good. And granted, like, it's not something that I thought was impossible to see coming. Nashville is a worse team than they were last year for sure. Like, I don't think that's debatable. But he's usually a world-class goaltender. He's usually a top 5, maybe even top 3 goaltender in the league. So I was kind of hoping that you would get that production from him still. And it's been a rough start. I still think he has time to pick it up. Maybe he just needs to get used to the new players on the roster. Maybe he needs to get used to the lack of defensive awareness from Luke Shen, who's to say. But it's been rough for him. So I've been casually scrolling the goalie market, and if anyone really good gets dropped, maybe I'll take a flyer to Maude's chagrin.
Yeah, you can have Stuart Skinner. He's available again.
Oh yeah, I'll switch him out. Yeah, that's easy call.
Yeah.
But I mean, out of you guys, honestly, that is like, I'm complaining about nothing.
Yeah,
overall.
you win for the goalie selections out of all our teams, definitely.
So far. But if I was in your guys' SDPN league, I would be getting destroyed by Charlie too. So still not best overall team so far.
Yeah, Charlie has the best team out of all of us at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I refuse to drop both Saros and Meyer because they both had slow starts since last year. I'm holding out hope that they're both going to bounce back. Also worth bringing up with Saros. currently he leads the NHL in losses.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of
Forgot about
regulation
that.
losses, right?
Yeah, 9 regulation losses
Oh God.
through 15 starts. So he's not getting you points for wins. Yeah, his last 2 games have been good though. His last 2 games were solid. Yeah, he got that win against Calgary, and then what was his previous game? Lost. Where is it? Where am I looking? Here we go. Oh no, it was a win against Colorado.
That's impressive.
Did not put up a great save percentage in that one either. He allowed 3 goals on 28 shots, but got the win. And the league that I have him in weighs wins very heavily, so that helps. But
See, I didn't think he would get that many wins this season, but we all know he's world-class talented, so I would have expected him to have a lot of like 2-1 losses or like losing 3-2 in overtime or a shootout or something like that. But the Predators games have been a lot more high scoring than I've expected. As we talked about Forsberg earlier, putting up a bunch of points.
Yeah, no, I witnessing the same thing, and unfortunately, it's hurt Saros a little bit. But like to what Charlie said, he did have a slow start last year. He clearly has the talent. He just might need some time to get used to the new roster construction, and then hopefully he can start hitting those wins, start hitting those above 930 save percentage games. Couple of shutouts sprinkled in, and then me and Charlie will be happy again.
For sure, for sure. At least
Ryan O'Reilly,
Oh yeah.
18 games, 9 goals, 17 points.
Holy crap, I didn't realize he had that many.
That's a lot better than I thought.
He's
that's
probably
crazy.
a good sleeper pick. If anyone took him in like the late rounds of their draft, that's good.
Oh my
Agreed.
god! Hold on.
Yeah, you know what? I'm against Robert this week, and he has O'Reilly, and I didn't realize
no.
that O'Reilly was doing that good. So great pick from him there.
Yeah, it drops off after that. Gustav Nyquist is 13 points in 18 games. And then Thomas Novak has 12 points in 14 games.
He's sneaky good.
Oh, right, him. I completely forgot, but he had a really good season out of nowhere last year.
Yeah, 43 points in 51 games with 17 goals.
He was a quiet rookie because he came up like halfway through the season from the AHL, like 51 games played. So obviously he wasn't like one of the super hyped rookies, and because he played less games, he wasn't like right at the top in terms of points, but his points per game pace was awesome.
Late bloomer.
I didn't even hear about him before he got pulled up to Nashville, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe that's some ignorance
2015
on my part.
draft.
2015. Jeez, that's probably why.
Yeah, late bloomer.
Yeah. Extremely. Yeah, 3rd round pick. How is peripheral? Is he like a fantasy option?
I don't know. I haven't really checked.
Not really. Not a
lot of shots or hits.
Yeah, he has 1 hit and he has 26 shots in 14 games. So not really. If he keeps up the scoring, then yeah, he's like a fringe.
Yeah,
guy,
if you have a really
on like
deep,
a 10-12 team
deep
league.
team, yeah.
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 An assist merchant. Well, I think that covers most of it. Thank you guys for watching and checking in with this fantasy update. We hope to do more in the future. We always like having Charlie on, and he's honestly the smartest fantasy person out of the 3 of us, I think. So it helps to get his input on all this because I wouldn't have that sort of insight. And if you want to check Charlie out, you can always follow him on Twitter at CW Arsenault. And also, of course, he is on Game Over Ottawa with Maude. So check them out there at SDPN. You can check us out at Extra Attackers on Twitter. I am at Stain of Stutzla and Maude is at Maude's Cho if you want to connect with us there. And let us know what you want to see us do in the future with fantasy, because it seems like based on the last episode, you guys liked it quite a lot. So if we want to dive into that more, that's cool. So let us know what you guys want. And thanks for watching. See you guys next week.